What's up? Welcome everybody to the Kumu Studios and to season 4 of the Evolve with Nicolette podcast. That is so dope. Yo, we're popping in here because it is hot AF. But that's because there's a lot of people in here that are hot AF, okay? This is dope. Let me just say, preface this. I have been off and on hiatus for 6 months. Go ahead, pick it up. Lord have mercy. I can't. So this feels good. This feels super good to be here with a lot of people that I know and love, just met, and with my special guest. So I'm so excited. Shout out to, this is what we look like. Oh, yes. So shout out to my special guest on the side. Oh, all right. My whole thing just went blank. All right. So we're live right now in the Philippines, in North America, abroad, all the things. So I have a very special guest to my left. I'm so excited. First of all, a lot of things have been popping off, and she has been on my wish list for guests. So when she said yes, I was like, oh snap, this is happening. So she is a lifestyle entrepreneur, money mindset coach, and host of the Manifesting Money podcast. And in 2021, Anita went from having a negative bank balances, being hassled by debt collectors, working up to 5 jobs at a time, to running her own 6-figure company now. Through her social media platforms, specialized coaching courses, and podcasts, which currently has over 200K downloads. Yeah, she gave me the update. She works on her life's mission to educate others on how to achieve limitless abundance through manifestation. So welcome to the studio and to the podcast, Yay! Anita Mae Aguilar.
Thank you so much for having me.
Girl.
Seriously.
I felt like we've been talking about this for a long time.
I know, right? But you're just saying that we're nervous, but we're not. So it's like, I feel like it's because it's been manifesting for a long time.
Yes, a long, long time. And I actually went onto one of your lives ooh, let me just see if she'll actually pick me. And then you did.
And I never do that either. So I was live on Instagram, and I was just calling people out and just answering questions from there. And we connected through there.
Yes.
So it was so cool. And when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, of course, I'll be there. So.
And two, she drove all the way from San Diego. Some more people came. Shout out to Kara Mommy for driving all the way to San Diego. Shout out to everybody for coming to the LA area, all the things, for battling all the Dodger traffic and soccer traffic, all the things. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. It's been such an inspiration to watch your journey, because I saw your TikTok when you were just only at a couple thousand followers. But I was already vibing with the content because duh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I saw the flip of when you went from just a couple of days to a couple thousand to almost 100,000 followers, and then your views going through the roof. And usually, old Nico would have been like, oh, why not me? It went to instantly of if it could happen to her, it could happen to me. So I instantly got excited, you know? Because I feel like when you're in this realm of being a creator and having a podcast, being an influencer and doing all the things, I hear somebody talking. I think it's us. Okay. It gets overwhelming, right? Because it's the consistency, it's the lack to see success in the beginning, or maybe not. For some people, it's just instant, right? But I've been doing this for 4 years now, and it's ooh, we're getting there. Yeah. Now we're in a studio now. We're part of Kumu now, right? And then I'm rubbing elbows with people from One Down, so I'm here, you know? So that's what gets me super excited. And then to see your story, it's super inspiring. And, bro.
Mercury's in retrograde.
We are live in the studio.
Mercury's in retrograde, that's why.
Mercury is in retrograde. But do we have to evacuate? That's what I want to know. Are we dying today, or what's happening? Yes. We'll take a pause. Can we pause the live stream? Okay, so we're back. The building was burning for a second. And we're all the way together. Okay, so like I was saying before I got rudely interrupted.
I used to say that all the time. Wait, my sister's going to watch this, and she's going to laugh because she would always say something, and I'd say, as I was saying before, it's rudely interrupted.
So like I was saying, okay, it was just dope to see your whole journey, right? Or not even whole journey. It's like the beginning of it. And I think people, we'll get to that part too. The thing for me is that like, it's just like your content didn't change. If anything, now the testimonials are rolling in because now people are really hearing what like you have to say and really implementing like the stories. So one of the things that people may not know is that you were doing like a bunch of jobs, what, just in the pandemic? Or when did that whole train start from being like a makeup artist, doing the 5 jobs? Was it Uber Eats or Postmates?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I was always that friend who had multiple jobs, like, you know, that one friend that's like, what's Anita doing now, you know? I painted houses before.
Yes.
I was a server, and then I was a bartender. I worked at a kiosk. If you've never worked at a kiosk in the mall before, don't do it. But when I tell you, like, I just really knew that I was going to be financially not only abundant, but like a millionaire, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like when you know, and it's like deep down in your soul, like nobody said it, or you don't have external proof, you just know. And so my idea has always been work, because that's what my parents told me, and that's what my dad said. And even going back to like things that I can consciously look back at now of where the belief started is that I specifically remember there is a guy who pulled up next to us in our family van. I'm a little girl, and he has a red Corvette. And in my brain, that means that guy's rich, right?
Yeah.
And he's an older gentleman, and I said, Dad, what does that guy do for a living? And my dad said, that guy worked his whole life for that car. And I was like, oh, and I didn't realize it, but I literally took on the belief that I had to work my whole entire life
to get the car,
to get success, or like rich, or whatever it was. So like the specific point that you're talking about is kind of where, again, you kind of, I don't say you have to hit rock bottom, but in my story, that's where I hit my first rock bottom. And that's how I say it first.
There's going to be a couple,
and it's like, my twin sister, she was the one person who really held me accountable with my finances. So just so I can explain this to anybody who is also watching this or here today, is that I didn't really look at my numbers. I didn't really know how much money was coming to my bank account. I didn't know how much money was going out. I also was late in all my bills. Always had debt collectors calling me. Every time they did call, block, 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 block. Don't answer this number. And then, again, I was working all the jobs. So I'm a really big numbers person. Like, I like to break down the numbers because it just helps me build the belief. But Monday through Friday, I was working in an office job for door-to-door sales. So I wasn't doing the door-to-door sales, but I was
like lead generation, probably?
Yeah,
or like telemarketer? Yeah.
Well, people would come in for interviews.
Okay.
And I was a front desk.
Okay.
So I made $300 a week there. Okay. And then I would get done with that, and I would go to makeup school, because makeup was what I really wanted to do. And then I would leave school, or leave to go to school around 4, all the way up until 8. And then I would say, well, I'm already on this side of time. Let me drive for Postmates.
Okay.
And then on the weekends, I would bartend. And then if I had any other time, I would do makeup. Wait, I was also in the National Guard, so that was once a month. So that's like the 5 jobs. Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And I know you're like seeing this and you're like, how is that possible? But
now, what year was this?
That was...
Or span of years?
I think that was like 4 years ago, maybe 5 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say... I don't know. I always say 4, but I feel like I've been saying 4 for the past year, so I feel like it's probably 5 by now.
Yeah.
But it was when I was in Virginia, before I moved to California. And my twin went on deployment. And so, I was working while she was gone. You know, I was like, I'm alone, so, you know, I can just work, make a lot of money. So my twin came back from deployment, and I was still broke. I was not only
working all the jobs.
Yeah, not only exhausted. I mean, being tired from all that stuff is one thing you'd expect. Obviously, I wasn't sleeping, but it was also like first thing in the morning, wake up, grab my phone. Oh my gosh, I'm late. I gotta go. I don't have time for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't have time to work out.
Yeah.
I don't have time to eat. Let me just grab something on the way. And it was just that, and then mentally exhausted. Like I was doing, my energy was so scattered.
Right.
And then when my sister came back, she introduced me to a book, and it's called "You Are a Badass"
Yes.
at Making Money by Jensen Chiro.
Yes.
And in the book, there is a girl named Anita. And Anita wanted to quit her job and manifest $60,000 so that she could pay off her debt and feel comfortable starting her own business, which is what I wanted to do.
Yes.
So long story short, in the book, I highly recommend that everyone reads it or listens to it, but in the book, Anita is learning about the law of attraction. I had no idea what the law of attraction was until that point either.
Oh, nice.
So she's getting sticky notes and she's writing the number 60,000, 60,000 and believing that it's coming and meditating and matching the frequency.
Right.
And then she's sitting on her bed and she's like, nothing's happening. And then she gets this download and remembers that her grandfather gave her stock when she was in high school or graduated.
Uh-huh.
So she goes to her closet and she gets the box out of her closet, and it's the first paper right on top, doesn't even have to look for it. And she calls the number, and the stock sold for $60,000 to the T.
Yes.
And so even now, it still gives me chills.
Yes.
And at the time, it made me cry.
Yeah.
Like I just broke down crying, and I didn't know why, but now I know why. So even if everyone listening and like here today, like if there's parts of my story that resonate with you, it either gives you chills or it makes you emotional. It's simply because it's part of your story. Otherwise, your body wouldn't have that chemical reaction.
Yes.
But long story short, that was when I went down the rabbit hole. I listened to that book. I realized that I was working out of scarcity. I was working that much when my sister was gone because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. I was, I could sit here all day long and say I believe money can flow to me. Yes. But if I'm working all day long, it's like there's no room for the magic, you know? And so that was at the point where I realized of like, oh, I'm the reason why I'm attracting all of this lack into my life.
Yes, and while you're doing multiple jobs, scattering all your time just to like chase the money instead of letting it like come to you and flow to you.
Yeah.
I love that. That's crazy. So when was that moment when you were just like, well, I'm not doing these anymore, and just so because that probably was also like the reframe for you that like, ooh, I don't have to do all 5 jobs. I could actually do a couple things, but not all this. So what was that like when that resonated?
Yeah, I think.
Because was it instant after you read the book?
No, that's the thing. It wasn't instant. I mean, it was.
The resistance had to be there.
The decision was instant. Me releasing was not instant because I was like, okay, I know all these things aren't serving me, but it wasn't like, let me just quit them all right now.
Right.
So I do want to make this very clear because this is what's going to happen, or probably happening to people right now in this room or even watching, is that when you make that decision and you say, hey, you know what? I am going to change the story, everything shifts. And when we say shift, we literally mean, it's like, think of like a ground and there's an earthquake where things are, like your whole foundation is going to get disrupted.
Yes.
And it's kind of like you get what you want and it's not what you want. So long story short, my bartending job, all of my money got stolen.
Oh yes, I heard this
out of my drawer. Well, I had it in a bag. I dropped the bag. Somebody that worked there took the bag and they're like, you can either pay back the money or quit. And so I realized.
And how much was that amount?
Like $900.
Yes.
And it was the most money I've ever made on that shift. Like I worked there for 2 years.
That's crazy.
And then that's when I remember being very like sad, and some people say depressed, but like I don't like using that word because it was me just feeling, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think a lot of people going through that process or who would have been in my shoes would have called it depressed. But it was really me just releasing, like, this isn't who I am anymore. And
Right.
that's why it felt so heavy, because it really wasn't about the money at that point.
Right.
Because I was making like $500 a week. Again, I'm a big numbers person.
Yeah.
$500 a week. I was going, working
Yeah.
that crazy amount of hours.
Yeah.
But from there, that got released. I'm trying to think of some other scenarios. Like, I think Postmates was the one thing where it was really hard for me to let go. And it was like, well, it's not a big deal. It's just one ride. And then I was like, okay, it's a big deal, Anita. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so when I started treating it like that, it would be like, okay, let me just 24 hours, just not do anything.
Yeah.
And I just remember, because I was out driving, and I was so frustrated. I'm not getting any requests. I wonder why. And even when I did get rides, like, it'd be so far, get canceled or whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go home. I'm so frustrated. I'm so tired. The only reason I'm out here is because I don't have money, so I'm in the lack vibration. I'm still figuring everything out, right?
Yeah. It's starting to click
Yeah.
now. It's starting to make sense now. Yeah.
And then I went home and I watched the movie The Secret. Yeah, and that was actually my first time watching it, and I was actually moving to California.
Ooh.
And I just remember that day when I sat down on the couch when I got home and watched that movie, somebody on my Facebook Marketplace, that was the other thing, I sold everything on Facebook Marketplace. Like,
Yes.
I created money. But anyway, someone randomly messaged me and said, hey, can I buy all of this stuff that I had listed? And then it was like proof of like, okay,
Right.
I didn't drive, and I made more money, and I'm not working. And so it's like, little things like that kept happening, or my car would break down. Now I can't drive for Postmates. And it was just like that until the next shift started to happen.
Right. I love that. I think one of my favorite phrases, because it's something that's like true to my life all the time, and for people around me, for every single person, is that when life seems to fall apart, it's actually falling into place. And we're actually living through that season right now in my life.
Yes.
But it came to the correlation of like, I've been asking for the most biggest manifestations for the past 2 to 3 years. So it only makes sense why my whole life is shifting into the most uncomfortable place I've ever felt in, because I'm actually making room for everything I've been asking for.
Yeah.
But I'm impatient and I'm a Virgo, so it's like,
I know,
where's my stuff at?
I know. I waited.
Yeah, like, I'm being a good girl. Why am I not getting it? But it's just divine timing. And when I'm ready, that's when it's coming. And it's working, and it's all coming to me, and it's actually done. So I love all of that. Because there's that resistance. A lot of people don't understand. It's not just about believing it. It's not just about, it's actually doing the work and letting it go. And I think that's the part a lot of people don't know how to do, is to let go. The attachment to things, to situations, to people, you're just so addicted, or just, that's all you've ever known, right? Like, you only ever known how to do 5 jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So what am I going to do with all this time now? Am I going to be wasteful with this time? I'm supposed to be making money during this time. And then the shift started happening where now everything that you actually wanted was the money. And the less you did is actually what the more that came in.
Yeah.
So that like juices me up, because I watched, I heard one of the podcasts where he explained that story. And I was literally in my car like, that's what I needed to hear right now. Like, thank you, right? So I just love, people don't understand like the power of sharing. Because then people think that that situation is only exclusive to them, right? Or it could be something just like you said, like if it's resonating, if your body's having chills right now, if it's making you emotional, you're not alone, right? So I love this.
Yeah, it's
I
so
love
true.
it.
And I'm just so grateful that you have me on here, because I talk a lot about this on my podcast, but like when my external world started to shift, people started to view me differently.
Yes.
And even now, like, I think people unconsciously put you on a pedestal. And it's like, that's why I have the podcast, because I'm constantly telling everybody every single step of the story. Because the reason why I'm doing it is so that people can know that they can do it too.
Yeah, that it's
You know,
attainable.
like-
It's not exclusive to just Anita
yeah.
or Nico or to whoever.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally that simple to like let go and then start implementing. But then everybody's like petty Nico and is like, where's my stuff? Where's all the stuff I've been manifesting? You know? Well, let's talk about that part. So how do we work on the patience? Like, how do you work on like the trust? Because one thing I heard, I think it was a couple of days ago, because I've been binging manifesting money podcast, where it said the money and power have this, or money and trust have the same same frequency. And I never heard that before.
Wow.
And that was like a light bulb went off. And I'm like, well, we're broke because a bitch is not trusting. A bitch is very insecure about her wallet. So I love that. Break that part down, because I feel like it's very, very necessary, very real. Because then people will be hearing us talk right now, be like, you guys are smoking something.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is that I didn't not believe in manifestation.
Right.
I just didn't understand it.
Right.
And I'm not a very like practical person. Like I need to know the step-by-step process. Like I'm a very just see it, believe it, receive it type of person. But there's two different types, and I've learned this not only from myself but also people who I've coached and mentored, is that I always give this example that I said, if I give you $1 million, if you can make an extra $100,000 this year, would your answer kind of navigate towards how am I going to make the 100,000?
Yes.
Or would you go towards what am I going to do with the million? Where does your brain go?
Mine?
Yeah.
Right now it's at the how.
Yeah. See, that's where people get, a lot of people are right here.
Yeah.
And that's why, because I'm here. I don't care how I make the 100,000. I know I can create money on demand.
Right.
It doesn't matter if I'm painting houses again. I can make $100,000.
Yes.
Because this is the end goal.
Right.
And I'm living in the end goal, and I'm already seeing what I'm doing with $1 million. And I feel like that's why a lot of external things happen, because in my brain, it was already here.
Yes.
And so a lot of people get stuck right here where they're like, well, how am I going to make the $100,000?
Yes.
But this doesn't matter.
Right.
And so when people say forget about the how, they're really just like either way, you're still going to have a how.
Right.
And you're still going to make a plan. But that plan isn't going to go the way that you think it is.
Yes. It's the attachment to the plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the plan is here so that your subconscious mind can believe that it's true.
Yes.
And so what you're talking about with the frequency, like I'll break this down a little bit of like, again, the science behind it too, because there's so much science, is that we're all made out of energy. Like if we were to get a microscope right now and like get super close into everybody, is that we're all made out of atoms and particles, and we are literally vibrating. And we're vibrating at certain frequencies, right? So if somebody walks in a room and they're mad or they're upset or they're sad and they don't say anything, you can still feel it because of their vibration.
Yep.
And the same thing when somebody is excited and motivated.
Yes.
And so what happens is that when you do this work and you start to really become conscious of your thoughts, you really start to pick up not only on your own energy.
Yeah.
And that's how I make every single decision, is that, does it make me feel good or does it make me feel heavy?
Right.
Does this job make me feel heavy or does this make me feel excited?
Right.
And I just kept picking all the things that made me super excited, because I knew that, again, if you're looking at frequencies and you're looking at how all the stuffs and you're over here operating out of guilt and shame and fear.
Right.
And it's not that those things aren't going to come up. It's just that we're already born at the highest vibrational state.
Yes.
But then things happen where, my dad said, well, you have to work hard for that money.
Right.
Well, you didn't get the job that you wanted.
Yeah.
Well, you got a flat tire and your bank account's negative. And it's like all these external things start to happen to lower vibration. So it's not always you have to like jump up and down to raise your vibration. You just gotta let it go.
Yes.
And feel it. Like, remember how I was saying, like, I didn't want to be alone?
Right.
That's what I did. I felt what being alone would be like, and all the things that I was repressing.
Right.
AKA depression.
Yes.
And that's when things started to open up for me. One, because I wasn't resisting it anymore.
Right.
I was in flow, and there's another question that you asked me, but I'm like blanking on it.
Girl, like you had me at like the part where you even reframed depression. right? Because that, like, I'm diagnosed with PTSD. So that is depression and anxiety, yay me, right? But it's like, I'm not my diagnosis. This just happens to happen to me. And that there's those times where, like, it's just a feeling, right? So I love that you even reframed it that way, where, okay, now I know what it feels like to be alone. I don't have to bunch up my time so I'm not alone, because now look what's coming into my life, because now I have the space to even pay attention to what other things can actually happen to me. So I love all that.
Yeah, and I remember what you were just saying, the question was again kind of going back to like, well, how do you believe that you're...
The trust, like, where does that come from? Yeah.
So one, it started with the little things, like, again, going back to the Postmates of like, okay, set an intention. And it's like you almost have to play a game with your mind.
Yeah.
And the reason why I tell people, like most of people who teach manifestation say, forget about the how, forget about the how.
Yeah.
But it's like, if your nervous system is freaking out,
right,
and you're having chemical reactions in your body when someone says forget about the how, then it causes so much resistance, because you're like, well, how can it be so easy for someone else? I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's like unfathomable for like, how is this easy for other people, but it's so hard for me? So then you go down another loophole of like, something's wrong with me. Yes.
And so that's why I have, not only for myself, but also my clients, like, you're the only one that knows how the money's going to manifest for you. So if I say you need $1,000 by the end of the day tomorrow, and I say you can go sell something on Facebook, like, if your body feels heavy when I say that, if it doesn't feel like it's possible, well, it's easy for her to say.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter what you do, the money will not manifest.
Right.
But if you say, hey, I know I can get $1,000 selling t-shirts, or whatever comes up for you,
right,
the first thing that comes up for you is your path of least resistance. And again, not to say that first idea is how the money's going to manifest,
right,
but kind of going back to the example of like t-shirts. Like, let's say you went to go sell t-shirts for $1,000 and you don't hit your goal. Right. But then somebody who's seen it online said, hey, I seen your post. Can I hire you to do content for me? But they wouldn't have seen you if you didn't take that first action.
Right.
So it's really about slowly building the trust.
Right.
But it's also like you're already here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody's trying to get to the next level, but you're already here.
Yes.
And I think, like, my perfect example of this, and I think about this all the time, of like all the times where I was like hustling and grinding, and then like even I'm sitting at home watching TV on a Saturday. Yeah. 6 p.m. Nothing to do. And I was like, I worked this hard just so I can sit down and watch TV. Yes. And then the other day I went to the park. I fell asleep at the park. I looked like a homeless person. The officer came up to me. Oh, no. He thought that I was like homeless or something. And it was just so funny. I was like, oh, sorry, I was grounding. I was literally grounding, connecting my feet with the grass. And it was just so funny because, like, I manifested my dream apartment, but I'm out here in the grass. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy. And I think once I started to realize that, and even now, it's like, I always wanted to be somewhere else. I always wanted to be somebody else. I want to dress like her, and I want the way that, like, my hair to look like that, and I want that house, and I want to be living there. Yes. And then once I realized that, I was like, oh, wait, like, I'm already here. That's when the external world will start to give you more. Right. Because it clicks. Yes. You know? And start to match everything that you're visualizing in here. Yes, I love this. And we had talked when we met like a couple of weeks ago that, right, and you talked about on your podcast a couple of times about your upbringing. And, right, your grandmother was an immigrant, and then your mother's first generation. I think your dad is too, right? And then those types of beliefs, right? Because one of the most common beliefs, especially with being a child of immigrants, is that you have to work hard in order to get money. And it's always hard work, always having to pay off, always having to do all this. It has to always be for me, the word that keeps on becoming more and more prevalent is hard, hard, hard,
right? So for you talked about how your parents worked crazy amount of hours. My thing is my same story. I saw my parents in the morning at 6:30 when they dropped me off, and I didn't see them till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. So as children and grandchildren of like immigrants, like how do we start to redefine? Because we even talked about like you wanted to explore like your roots and get connected and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what's that like?
So wait, how old are your boys?
My boys are 11, 9, and 6. Lord have mercy. Yes.
Okay, so cute. Hello. Like the reason why I asked that is because like your subconscious mind, so think of it as a sponge. This is why when you say a bad word around a little kid, they just know it right away because their brains are literally sponges.
Yes.
Like, but once you know that your subconscious mind creates 95% of your reality. So in your conscious mind, which is like speaking something into existence, us talking right now, is 5% of your reality.
Right.
So like everything that's happening right now is because of your subconscious beliefs.
Yes.
And first off, when you go through that shift, like just because I became conscious of my thoughts and I started to think more positively and, you know, set new intentions, I still had to live through all of the past programming that I already like had been manifesting.
Right.
You know? And so what you're talking about is, again, our past generations. And then that time when your subconscious mind is a sponge is from the ages 0 all the way up until you're 7 years old.
Yes.
But that's like kind of like surface because even like let's say you're in the womb and father doesn't want the baby, like your beliefs are still getting programmed in those times, you know?
Yes.
And so I just really like to point out that part because usually what's happening is that maybe you'll have a belief when it started when you're 6 years old and it repeats over and over and over again. And so like you could be 50 years old and it's still the same story until the cycle's broken. And so, and what we're talking about is generations.
Yes.
So I guess the biggest thing that I love to not only tell my clients is like, yes, obviously there's a lot of things that we're shifting, but there's a lot of amazing beliefs and like proof that we've had because of our parents.
Yes.
You know, so something I have my clients do is to pull off not only the limiting beliefs, you know, unconsciously we're saying we work hard and stuff like that, but also like I can create money out of thin air because my dad is a money manifester. Like he could snap his finger. I remember he came vacation and we were working on a Monday and he's like, he comes back home at the same time while he was out exploring. And he's like, I just did a job as an electrician and here's a couple $100.
On vacation.
Yeah, on vacation. And I was like, I have that gift because my dad built that belief in himself. So I think it's not only pulling the unconscious limiting beliefs, but also, again, superpowers that you have.
Right.
And then is to consciously start to shift the old stories.
Yes.
So like, just even that, like what we're talking about is like, it's money flows to me more when I'm not working. You know, like money flows to me more when I'm resting. Money flows to me more when I have energy. So that is the conscious mind. But what happens is that your brain looks for proof. So think of it as a little scanner.
Yes.
So it's like if you say money comes to me when I'm not working, your brain will literally look for all of the proof that that is true because your subconscious mind never wants you to think or never wants you to be wrong. So if you say you have to work hard, your mind's like, okay. You know what I mean? There's no filter. They don't care what you say. They just always want you to be right.
Right. I love that. Because then too, when I work hard, money comes to me. So then you have nothing but the pictures of everybody working hard around you, right? Because it's going to give you all the proof. I love that so much. So that I feel like that's where also too the resistance comes, right? The resistance comes. Even when you're trying to like break the cycle and you're that one person in your family that's trying to like break out the mold of, right? Being Filipino, it's always being a nurse or being in the medical field. And it's like when you're that one, or even, you know, being Mexican that you have to go to college. This is the only way how you're going to be successful. successful, right? Breaking the mold and being like, no, I actually could break off and do my own business, or actually could be a singer, actually could be a coach, actually a money and mindset coach, you know? It's like, what the hell is that? And then you have this whole thing. So I feel like it's hard sometimes when you're trying to break that cycle and you're the first person to do it. But how beautiful that is for the generation behind you, beside you, because it's like now that's for their subconscious mind proof that like, oh shit, this actually can work and this actually can happen.
Yeah,
I love that.
And it's like also like it's heavy when you go through that. Like you feel so much, but it's also because like you're feeling what not only yours, but like all of the generations behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even for Mother's Day the other day, I was like getting so emotional. Not emotional, I say expressing my emotions. Because I was like, oh my gosh, all of the stuff that my mom went through, my dad went through, my grandmother went through, like, you know, I really, like I didn't feel bad. I just felt everything that they went through within that moment. You know what I mean? So wait, kudos to all of the people breaking those.
Yes, breaking the molds. Yeah.
We're not always conscious of how good that we had it. You have it now.
Right.
You know?
Or I couldn't even tell people were struggling around me, right? Or even I couldn't even tell, right? My aunt was one of the people that I was around the most when I was younger. I had no idea she was going through a bankruptcy at the time. Now it makes sense why she was moody some of the times, but it was like, oh shit, like still my life was still great, right? And also too, like that, you know, seeing all of those people around me doing all the hard work and getting stuff done. Like now it's just like, oh, this is me now doing what I want to do. This is like my tribute to them. And like, I just want to make them proud. And like, I'm able to do this, and all the sacrifices that they were able to make is now the reason why I'm able to do this now. So I love that. Love that you brought the ancestors into it. I feel like one of the things that I liked from binging your podcast was that you had said that somebody told you about like, oh, look, you're always lucky. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm always lucky. I love that because a lot of people like to reframe it as being blessed. So even kind of like demonizing being lucky too. So I love that you say that. Can you like tell people a little bit of like how you factor that into your life? Because I love, like when I listen to your podcast, it's just like, yes, that makes sense. So why is it so hard for me when I do it in my own life and when daily life is happening to me? Because actually, I am so lucky. That's not something unbelievable.
I like to go back to the time where my high school was having a 5-year reunion. Who does a 5-year reunion, by the way?
Your high school.
I'm from Nebraska, by the way, so I was like, whatever. But then the first beliefs and thoughts are, wait, I'm not successful yet. I don't have money yet. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a nice car.
Right.
I need to lose weight. You know, all the things come to the surface.
Right.
And then, like, what happened is, like, my brain went down this rabbit hole, and then I got to the bottom, and then there's, like, a little light bulb, and the light bulb was like, well, what if I got up on the stage and I said what I was going to do, and all of the things that I had been working on is shifting, like, and just spoke it into existence.
Yes.
And then they see me on TV. You know what I mean? Because like one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say, "Don't forget about me when you're famous." I hate when people say that, bro.
Like actually I am, dog. Yes.
Like it makes me so mad because I'm like I'm not a different person because I'm on TV. You know what I mean? Like it's just like people, like they think that success changed you.
Right.
But you changed and then success followed. So I was like, you see me working on my mindset. You see me being woo-woo and weird. I remember when I was in the military, everybody used to make fun of me because I always had my journal. So I'd walk around with my journal in my uniform and I'd be like, you guys are going to see me. I'm famous and I'm going to have a stuff because of my journal. You know what I mean? So honestly, for me personally, even when you're in the thick of it, like even now, like I'm going through a lot of stuff in my business and in my personal life where I'm like, I'm not going to talk about this right now, but I know I'm going to get through this and then I'm going to tell the story about it.
Yes.
So like when you have that perception of it and you're like, ooh, this is going to be good for the book. Good for the book.
Yes.
Then it just shifts your perception of it. And also for me personally, it just gets me to that higher vibration.
Yes.
And it's also, again, going back to the science, is that the law of polarity, it's always going to be like this.
Yes.
Like things are always up and things
Never
are always
linear.
down.
Yeah.
And people take it personally and they think, well, I was doing something right then, and then I was doing things wrong now. That's why I don't have money. That's why my relationships aren't where they want to be. That's why my car broke down.
Right.
But those are actually signs that the blessings are coming.
Talk about it.
And honestly, I go viral on social media because I tell people, like, if you just got fired, that's a sign. If your car broke down, that's a sign.
Yeah.
Not only my proof, but I have so much proof that nobody can tell me that that's not true.
Right.
Even if it is something that was just made up. You know what I mean? There's so much belief in it that it's like, it manifests.
Right.
You know?
Like sometimes it becomes so unbelievable what happens to you that it's like, ooh, this isn't me.
Yeah.
This is something else, shifting. Because there was a part, right? Like, because I'm in the same mindset too. Haven't really told anybody about what's really like going on. If you're close to us, you know. But it's like the thick of it, of when it's like, oh my God, this is really rough right now, right? And then I was actually living in it for a second. There was probably like 2 months straight where I just could not get out of the funk, and I was just literally in survival mode. And then there was one point where I was all like, hold on, I'm sick of feeling like that. And then I shifted like, everything's moving because I was asking for all of these things before. So like, okay, let everything burn down, please, because it's time to let it go.
Fire alarms now.
Literally, the fire alarms went off. Yeah, because then it's like, actually, I'm not ready to talk about it right now. Same thing like you, like, but when I decompress it, y'all will see that everything made sense. And yeah, I hate the people too that say, don't forget about me when you get successful. Repost my video then. At me on Instagram.
Now you're going to say you
Plug
went to
the
high school with us.
podcast.
Yeah.
Follow me on Kumu. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Yes, like it's not hard at all to like support those people that are actually trying to make it. But then again, it's all right if you're not on the wavelength. We're gonna keep it pushing, and we're still gonna get there, and we will forget about you when we go there. I love that. So when you come to, we talked about like the, you know, functioning in the lack and scarcity of it all, right? When you're in that like thick of it, of like, oh, a lot of people don't understand like when, or I could see it now. Now that I'm aware, I could see what's happening in like people's lives, and it's like, man, if only they would just see like that the other side of the mountain, right? So now that you're coaching, right? Now that you've done all the jobs, and now you're focusing on your job, on your job of being a money mindset coach. What comes? What's like the most frequent thing that happens with your clients that it's like, this is common amongst everyone?
There's a lot of things. I'd say the biggest one is that, like,
we're all impatient, first of all.
I just feel like a lot of people think that one lump sum of money is going to change it all for them.
Yes.
You know, they're like, how do I manifest $10,000? How do I manifest a house? How do I manifest a job? It's like, and so I want to bring those things to the surface, because like if you are having an intention for $10,000 or a new job, it's like those things are coming up for a reason.
Right.
But what I help people do is try to connect the dots of, again, going back to the end result.
Yes.
Like, what's the money going to do for you? So I can use Vanessa as an example. So Vanessa's actually one of my clients, so I'm really excited that she's here. Yeah. But like, even with Vanessa, like it was moving to California. Like if she didn't follow through with that manifestation, she wouldn't probably be here today. And the reason why I say that is because like we wouldn't have like even crossed paths, like barely, not only with us, but also with us. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be here if you weren't operating at the same frequency as me. And like a lot of times people are so focused on the money that they don't know what the end result is. And so when they're so focused on the lack of money, I need $10,000. I need to get out of debt. I need to pay my car before it gets taken away. Let it get taken away. Like, you know, like if you can be at that place where it's like, you know what, I'd be okay if I had to move back in with my parents. I'd be okay. Like, that's when you release all of the resistance and like you're still gonna, again, keep moving through the manifestation, your inspired action.
Yes.
I always tell people try to only listen to your own thoughts. Because what happens is someone's like, well, you know, you can go get a job and you can do this. And actually, my mom told me to work at a warehouse. You can work at a warehouse, Anita. And I was like, you want me to quit my makeup job just to work at a warehouse?
Do I look like I belong in a warehouse? No, ma'am.
But I was like, it was like, even if I did do that, money still wouldn't have flown to me because I was acting out of scarcity.
Right.
So what I tell my clients is to, again, get super clear on what it is that you think the money is going to bring you and tap into that emotion now. So a lot of people think when I'm debt free, I'll feel safe. I'll feel calm. I won't have to work anymore.
Right.
And I feel like even with my story, it's like it was something I was conscious of before it happened, and it kind of telling people about. It's like the money's not gonna change anything, but when it actually manifested, I felt numb. I felt nothing. I felt like you think you're gonna be like, yeah, you know what I mean?
made it, yeah,
and you don't.
No.
And I feel like you have to go through that process to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then I realize when I tell the story, that's when I get chills.
Yes.
That's when I get excited. That's when I'm like, ah!
Yes.
So that's why like things like this are so important. And if I'm tapping into the vibration of free or calm, I turn off my phone. I leave that home. I go for a walk.
Right.
And I tap into that emotion of what I think I would feel if all my bills were paid.
Yes.
And then I come back home and, you know, video went viral or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So tap into the vibration now is the key.
Yes, I love that. Because, I mean, there's many times, too, right? Especially, like, with my family going through it, there was just days, hours, weeks of us just being in just scarcity and just worry. And it's like, I know better. Like, I know better. But I'm not exclusive to feeling those type. You got to honor that shit.
Yeah.
What am I learning here? Why is that coming up? Why am I being put in this situation? And it's like, oh crap. I don't believe in that the universe or God or whoever does the things to like punish you or to teach you.
Yeah.
It's just the same scenario over and over and over again to make you practice what you've been asking for.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the biggest things, and I actually haven't changed my intention board from last year. And trust is still on there, and I actually had it like packed away somewhere, and it's peeking out on the side today. And I have the word trust on top of a picture of like waves of like the ocean, and I was like, oh, I know, dog. I'm getting better. Like I'm trying, you know, like, and I'm starting to feel like, oh snap, like I'm aware, I'm awake again, and it's like you said. It's the you know, that journey that's just not ever going to be linear. There's going to be times, right? We get reborn again many times. We go through, right? You talked about like the lowest point over and over again, right? Because there was a time where last year I was like in such a big high, and then all of a sudden me and a couple of my friends were talking about, well, we stopped doing the work. We started getting comfortable with where we were at. And then we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And then we kind of all were on like the same type of wavelength of like, what the fuck's happening to us? Right? Of like, this doesn't feel good anymore. And then it's like, oh crap, we're actually waking up and then starting to get on this trajectory of like, we got it. Okay, you're fine.
Yeah.
But then some people live that way, like in scarcity and lack for a very long time. And I feel like the generations before us just didn't know how. They were only taught how to be in survival mode. There's really, right? All of this stuff was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is not for us. Yeah. And it was kind of like the same thing like for you, like you said, you were, with your combat boots and the journal. Yeah.
I'm right there in my journal.
I'm still gonna,
talk about it on my podcast.
Yes. And still people, like, I'm just not gonna mess with people who don't want to be on that same vibration. I don't have to validate myself to anybody. Still gonna do me.
Yeah.
We're gonna be okay. And whoever wants to hear that message can come along with us. And that's why, like, yeah, it wasn't coincidence that one day when you popped up onto my For You page.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, right? And then here, this was all already in the making. That's why, like, when I took that chance and, like, slid in your DMs, and I was like, oh, fuck, she actually said yes. Like, oh, yeah, we have to get shit going. So I love that because it makes things more attainable. And if you're even watching us now, somehow you ended up on this live stream on Kumu. Somehow you ended up in here in the studio with us or listening to on the podcast. This is for you because now you're, just you listening to it, you're aware. You're starting to get awake, right? Especially if you're feeling like you've been going through a lot of lack and resistance and through like a lot of rough times. Get excited because that glow up and that, like, that bloom of like your life is coming. It's just a matter of you being able to let go. That's why I love that part when you said, like, let them take your car.
Yeah, I don't give that back. I'll get another one, bro.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of it is what keeps us stuck in those things is really about caring about what other people think. And that's when we share in Magical Mohead Morning or when people take my class or any type of workshops, it all comes back at the end of the day of like, what are people going to say? And it's like, who gives that's not any of your business. It's just about you and how you're feeling and how are you going to get into alignment to the things that you actually want. How do we get out of here? Doesn't matter what's happening outside of you anymore. I love that.
Yeah.
Because your whole podcast is just of that. And then now that you're sharing testimonials of everyone who's doing like your workshops and stuff and 31 Days of Abundance, I love hearing like the everybody starts off the same way. It's been shitty.
You can hear, you can notice. When, probably before you even hear them talk about, or I break it down, your brain is probably going through the same process that mine does.
Yes.
Of like, okay, when I was starting my business, then I quit this job, and then you're like, oh, that's the shift.
Yes.
Right? And that's what I get excited about the podcast and breaking it down because it's like, oh, now other people's brains are going to go through, like, see what I'm seeing from the outside looking in,
Yes. And that's why I love that you share the testimonials because sometimes it might not be like, I'm not for everyone. You're not for everyone. But sometimes just even sharing the story is like, oh, this might be the thing that changes and sets somebody off, right?
Yeah.
I've watched The Secret 10 times before I even started to implement it. It didn't make sense to me at the time, right? Or it's like, oh, that feels nice. Like, just think happy thoughts. Like, no, actually, there's all these other things, right? That is in play here. So I love when you can hear the decrescendo of the story and then it's like, ooh, this is going to be juicy because the like when the shift of every story and every testimonial you share is like, that was so good.
Yeah.
So I love that you start your podcast that way. So if you're not listening to Manifesting Money podcast, where are you at?
Plug it.
Yes.
So yeah, we're on all the platforms. Manifesting Money podcast is the pod. So I do a lot of solo episodes where I'm just specifically talking about money mindset, and just like tips, tricks, daily downloads. And then
practical ways too, because I feel like a lot of manifestation and like wellness, spiritual things, it's a lot of things that are really unattainable. And I loved also too that you're brown and that you're a woman of color. And it was like, oh snap, like you could literally be my cousin. We probably are related. Yes. I may have family in Nebraska. I don't know. We'll ask my mom after the show.
Sylvia, what do we need to know?
Because it's like sometimes like it just really depends, and that one person that's gonna set your mindset onto a different track, like that's sometimes all it takes, right? I love that. So one of the habits I've been working on, right, and we talked a little bit about it before, was the like now. So I'm so glad that like we covered that and touched that, because I feel like when you talk about like your the 5 jobs you were doing, that probably was it too, was like the money now.
Yeah.
And being
instant
able,
gratification.
Yeah. So like when you talk about like your journey on letting go of all of that, like how do you tell people to like how do we release that attachment? Like,
to all of the jobs or to money?
To all of it too, because even that too, a lot of your podcast too is not even about the money at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's not about the money.
None of it, none of the podcast is about like the money. Like, yes, that's like I feel like it's like the minuscule stuff in the podcast, because a lot of what you cover on your show is more about your mindset and just debunking all the myths and all the lies like we tell ourselves. So like for someone who's listening to us now, who's in that resistance, so it's like, well, how do we shift?
Yeah.
You know? So what's that one like little trick, like when the thoughts start to come in and little Nico's like, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're like, how do we get into like, it's okay?
So I'll do an exercise.
Yes.
So everybody,
Let's do
if
it.
you want to grab your phones, and I just want you to pull up your bank statement.
Oh, damn.
And I want and I want you to show the person next to you.
Oh, shit.
I'm just kidding.
Yes, not the calculator at 1 penny.
So that is the work.
Yes.
Like I've done interviews where my bank account was negative.
Yes.
And I would have done that same exercise and shown the person next to me,
Yes.
and it would not mean anything about myself.
Yes.
So what would happen is that I would continue to keep looking what's in my bank account, whether, because, you know, we talked in the beginning how I had negative bank account. I had
Yes.
multiple negative bank accounts. Navy Federal took my bank away because I was so negative, bro. I was like, oh, let me, because Navy Federal lets you go $500 negative, just for you don't know.
Shout out to Navy Federal.
It's just so funny because people say I'm broke, and I'm like, what's broke to you? Because my broke is like negative bank accounts, debt
Overdrafts,
collectors,
yeah.
people texting me, and I would still go out to eat.
Yes. Yes.
So the real work and what you're talking about is releasing your emotional attachment to money.
Hold on a second, because my bartender's super loud. Yo, cool it with the ice. Is that okay? All that sound? Okay. Look, yeah, the bartender, the foo in the back is messing with her, about to give us the sauce of how we get it together.
So
Okay, yes, thank you.
What were some of the emotions that came to the surface when we said that?
His hands went up in the air.
If you could put it in a word, what emotions?
Oof. Like,
What
damn.
words? What words?
What words came up? Not happening. I'm not showing.
Fine.
Oh, I was like, I'm at rock bottom, girl. Like my blessings are coming. That's what I literally said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your body will tell you. Like where your emotional attachment is. You know what I mean? So like even with that, like there's times where like I have no proof that this is gonna work out,
Yes.
but I tap into that
Yes.
before it happens.
Yes.
And so all of the things that have manifested into the physical form, I've been there. Maybe not visualize a specific like of it happening, but I knew what it would feel like.
Yes.
And the feeling is the biggest thing. So now again, like it's not only with like again the resistance like when it comes to money, right? Because now all I teach my clients is to keep going and talking and having that relationship with your money as if it's a person.
Yes.
So it's like if you have that fear, stress, and anxiety, think of it as your, I'll use husband or spouse, in the kitchen.
Like,
and
literally making all the noise with the eyes. God damn.
That's right, they're in the kitchen. And you want to
Yes.
tell them something, but you don't.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of is with money. Like you have to keep communicating with your money. You got to check in with your money. Hey, are you doing okay? Hey, thank you for being here. Hey,
Yes.
thank you for helping me get gas here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
Providing a roof over my head. Yeah.
Even when I have no money, like Money and I are best friends. Like we have a really good relationship, and I love Money unconditionally. Like think of a mother and a child. Like you don't. The baby isn't born and then you say, okay, do something and then I'll love you. You know what I mean? That's what we do with money.
Right.
We're like, okay,
right.
do something and then I'll love my relationship with money.
Yes.
And it's opposite. Like money is an energetic frequency. And once you understand that, then that's when your external world starts to shift.
Yes, I'm just not wearing all these furs for jokes, shits and giggles, girl. We're manifesting the real things, please. Ooh, fur, please. But I love that. I love how you turned it into something that was super attainable, something so super easy to do. Because I actually did that. We have this in common too. Manifestation Babe was like one of the first, like for you, like into this realm. She was the same thing for me. And doing her, what was that? The 1,000-day.
Oh yeah, $1,000 in 30 days.
Yes,
21 days.
That totally reset like my mind. Like I don't keep receipts in my wallet anymore to make room for the money.
Yeah.
It's not there right now, but like it's space for when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And just doing those little things and not even passing, like you talked about recently about the penny on the floor, picking up every single one and getting excited like if it was $100 bill, right? That's what we're talking about, is about the vibration, the frequency, and getting in that alignment with like what you're wanting to attract. Because like literally it's that simple. You didn't have that penny before, right? And now like there's no clutter in your purse and your wallet, right? I had a friend that told me something about like, well, you put the Santo in your purse with all the junk, you know? I was like, oh, you're right. Let me get him out of there. I love that.
Get him out of there.
Yeah, we were in such rock bottom. We went back to church, girl. Not me and Saint Philomena and Carson like praying for these like things to go away, you know? But actually, I ended up finding that like this is the first time I've been able to meditate in a long time. This is the first time I was able to be clear. It had nothing to do with Catholicism or religion or anything, but I was like, oh, this is the first time like I've been able to just be quiet and free and still, right? Nobody's asking for ice. Nobody's asking for snacks. Like literally Moose having a whole conversation on the side again. But still, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all jokes aside, like, this is something that's not exclusive to us. And I love that you share the testimonials. I love that you're still doing all these things. The consistency of your TikTok is what does it for me. Just being able to binge. That was also the thing, too, is that one of the easiest ways to tap in and to get in vibration and the frequency is to also fill your phone, your daily, with people that inspire you, right? So if your feed, I always talk about cleaning your feed on social media. So like, I legit have nothing that pisses me off on my social media. If it makes me feel any sort of way, I'm hiding, I'm following, blocking, doing all the things. So like, my TikTok is perfectly curated because there's always something coming up, either making me laugh, a cute chubby dog, you know, like all the things, right? So doing that for you, what does that look like? How do you keep yourself on this vibration where like, ooh, I need to feel good, or I need to pick me up, you know?
Well, it's like the opposite, you know? So, and now that you know this, I want you to go back and look at all my videos. Like the reason why I show up on social media and I teach something is because the person that I want to tell it to is not receptive.
Right.
So let's say that I'm talking to my close friend and like I'm not going to give them unsolicited advice because one, it doesn't matter. It wastes my energy.
Right.
It makes me believe, and I learned this the hard way too. Don't get me wrong, like the hard way. And I didn't realize when I first started learning about this, I tried to force everybody else to know it too because it kept me safe. And I was like, well, you should do that, or don't talk about how broke you are. Don't do this and don't do that.
Yeah.
And it caused so much resistance.
So much.
And even now, like my parents don't really know what I do. They just know I'm on a talk show today. And they're like, that's my daughter. And I'm like, you don't even know what I do, bro.
Yeah, my mom was like, where are we going today? I had no idea. How do I dress? And I was like, girl, we just go and get in the car.
So,
we're going to eat after. Let's go.
So I'm either like transmuting the energy, the frustration I have, I wish I could tell this person, or transmuting, I wish I would have told myself this.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? I wish somebody would have told me that my car breaking down 4 times in 1 month was a blessing.
Yes.
That it's a sign. So I don't show up because I have to. And if I am showing up because I have to, it causes resistance. And the people watching, they can feel it. And the videos that always go viral are the videos that I like
Yes.
didn't care about, no makeup on.
All the time, yeah.
Woke up in the middle of the night, download, tweet. You know what I mean? They're super like, I don't know, just like funny. Like I love comedy and like
Yes.
jokes and being funny and stuff. Like sometimes I post stuff that has nothing to do with manifestation, but it's just like transmuting the energy.
Yes.
So what I tell my clients is and teach them is like with social media, like everybody asked, like when everything blew up for me, like I had been manifesting being viral, or not even
Yes.
viral, like social media famous, since like MySpace.
Yeah. Since like Friendster.
I was like, okay, maybe not MySpace, maybe Facebook. Let me get all these friends. Okay, maybe Twitter. Twitter's not working. Vine didn't work.
Yes.
Instagram, no. And then TikTok, and I'm like, finally!
Yes.
So that's another thing too.
It's not an overnight.
And then the other
Definitely
thing was
not.
like, it's because like I didn't go viral because I posted consistently.
Right.
I went viral because I was going through a quantum leap, and it was everything that was happening externally because I was shifting internally.
Yes.
So like before my video went viral, I had again negative bank account. I had to pay my team. This is like again when I was coaching makeup artists, but I was also moving to a new apartment, but I was also putting my new products out there. And I had a really hard passing in my family. And it was my stepfather, and he took his own life. And it was the beginning of the year, and it was so hard because one, when I went home, it was like, how do I get money for a flight? I didn't pay rent because I had to get a flight home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when we got home, there was no funeral because of money, because of COVID, because like everybody couldn't get there because they also didn't have the money to get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then when the external world started to shift, it was like a little bit I was motivated by grief. And like that's also, I feel like it's something that you almost have to go through to understand, where it's like, now I really got to do this to prove something.
Yes.
And then I was like, and then now I've never been more connected with him. Like on my drive here, like he helped me get here. He's the one that helped me go viral on social media. You know what I mean? So like a lot of people think that it's like the consistency and like what strategy did you use? And I was
Right.
like, I invested $5,000 that I had to ask my mom to co-sign for me while going through this whole process
Yeah.
and still believing that everything was going to work out. And then the next day is when the video went viral from somebody, I'll get the story, from somebody who made a video, who watched my content, never worked with me before, and then the video got 1 million views, and my sales went viral, ding, 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 ding. And I was driving to LA, and yeah, not LA, I was Las Vegas, and I was getting on stage to talk about manifestation, and then I got off. And that's when my 31 days started to go viral. But then the testimonies, and I was like, holy crap. Like, how many people I impacted because I finally broke through the shell of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. But long story short, the girl who went viral in that video, like a year later, she's my virtual assistant now.
Yeah.
I know! It's so cool. And we did like 100 applicants, 5 calls, and she was the one that we picked.
Yes.
It was so cool. So it's just like, I don't know, like when I teach people like in our academy, and kind of going back to what you're saying is like people's stories is what builds the belief.
Yes.
Is that I'm very conscious that I'm not going to touch everybody.
Right.
I'm very conscious that some people are
Same.
going to think this is woo, but the people who are conscious
Yes.
and who are aware, I'm like, please let me give you everything that you need.
Yep.
And I want you to see yourself the way that maybe somebody's viewing me right now. Like you see yourself in the chair getting interviewed. Because I've always seen them like that, like Vanessa, like I've always seen everybody who's in my energy. I see you like that.
Yes.
Maybe like if you can't see it right, like my clients when they can't see it yet, I'm like,
Yeah.
here, borrow my belief because I know
Yes.
I've literally been where you're at.
Yes.
And your story is going to help somebody else believe that this is true. So that's why we really, really dive deep in like with social media. It's not so much about social media. It's about the fear of being seen,
Yes.
you know?
And shout out to everybody who's bumping into you recently.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love that.
Yeah, we just did this meditation, and I had this speaker, and she guided us through this meditation, and I didn't really click of like how much things were like people were seeing me, because
Yeah.
people don't usually recognize me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
So like even in the past like 48.
Well, not yet.
Like I feel like, you know, it's one thing when you have makeup on.
Yes.
But when I don't have makeup on and I'm looking like, look how I usually look, I'm like, wow, I'm really surprised. I didn't notice me, bro. But I've been just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, somebody when I was in the salon, she was like, "You're the money manifester." I was like, "Is that what people call me?" And we went and got dinner last night.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was like, and it was so cool to connect, because like for me, I felt so unconsciously guilty because like you see the numbers, but you don't see who you're impacting.
No.
You know? And then
Yeah.
when people come up to me, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, it's not just a number. You know, your mind is the one that goes towards the likes. And I unconsciously do that too. I'm like, well, that one didn't get that many views.
It's the vanity of it all.
You know?
Yeah. Until the testimonials go through and they're
Yeah.
like, oh snap.
Yeah.
I'm not talking out of my ass. This is actually hitting the spot. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So as we're wrapping up, I wanted you to plug all the things that you have coming up, because you have some major things happening when this when it goes onto my podcast. Ooh, season 4 going live next week. Yay. So yes, like plug it all, because you do have the 31 days to of abundance, right? So that's one program like you have, and you have personal coaching, right? Like one-on-one. Like what else do you have? Let the people know where they could find you.
Yeah, so I kind of let people find where they fit in our resources if they're in alignment for them. So like our biggest thing is, one, I'm really like, please reach out to us on social media. Even if we don't get back to you right away, I promise, like on Instagram is where I live. It's like my house. And it's my thank you for people investing the time and energy. So you can reach out, you can ask us questions, you can share testimonies. We share them on our story, we share them on the podcast. Again, it helps build a belief. All the different ways that you can reach out to us or work with us. We have an intro course, which is like just learning how to create money on demand. Like I said before, is like, it's so easy for me to make money because it's a skill set,
Right.
you know? So if you're there, that's the intro course. The 31 Days of Abundance is a program for people who get the money, but they're scared of losing it, or they don't know how to keep it, or they don't feel worthy of receiving it. So really just pretty much all of the unconscious things that we're doing that are blocking money, working at a scarcity, working at a job that you don't like, knowing your numbers, setting new boundaries with your money.
Or if you're a hoarder with your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Saving can be a form of scarcity.
Yep.
Like, just that's like the 30 days of like, and don't join the program because you want money. Join it because you want to shift your relationship with money, and then the money will come. You know? Because I've had people who join, and what happens is like, think of it as a wall. So even if all the information's already out there, like, you just broke the cycle because, let's say you're scared to invest that money.
Right.
Instead of going around it, you went through it, and that's the trust. That energetic exchange is the trust, and that's where a lot of
Yes.
people get stuck because they're like, well, I don't have the money. Then find it. Because it's not about the course, it's about you breaking that shift. Whether it's this or a person you want to get or a trip you want to go on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then the last thing is the academy. These are all ways that you can work with us, but we have a free workshop coming up. But the academy is for specifically coaches. So for people who want to do something similar to what we're doing. So it's a coaching certification. We really break down not only the step-by-step process of how to incorporate manifestation in business, but also really breaking down the things that come up while you're going through that shift. So we're not really talking so much about not having enough money. We're really talking about the steps that are after that, the unconscious guilt that you have after you get the money, the fear, again, of being seen, the imposter syndrome, the fear of having a business, you know what I mean? Like getting out, Vanessa got her LLC. Something that, you know what I mean?
You're
like
taking the leap,
yeah, we think those are little things, but those are huge things.
Big things.
So,
because that probably was pricey if you're in California. No. Yes.
Oh!
Shout out to.
Yes. So,
Be better than Texas. Yes.
So that's the most intimate one, and we do it in batches. That's the only time I work with people one-on-one, and when we do work on one-on-one, it's mostly just going over the things that you already know. You just got to do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Girl, yes.
That's what the academy is for too. Is like not only, doing the work, but it's like having other people who are operating at the same frequency as you. And a lot of people don't have that. So that's why it's really community based and like
I love
connecting.
that.
But last thing, we have a free 3-day manifesting money workshop, which we're really excited about because it's all about neuroscience and the nervous system. Again, even after you have the money, we think that the fear goes away.
No.
But, the chemical reaction that's happening in your body, AKA anxiety, is because of the unconscious thoughts that you have going on in your head.
Yep.
And we have a guest speaker who's going to help us break down the science in the body when it comes to the fear of and stress around money. So I'm like so giddy about this. It's been something that's coming to the surface. It's the science and neuroplasticity.
I love that.
Yeah, it's completely free. Please, please, please hop on the wave. Even if you can't physically be there, just get in the energy because things shift.
So that's going to be happening on Instagram, not this week, but next week.
Yeah, so May 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Yes, and then let people know where they can find you on social media, where the podcast is at.
Yep, so social media, everything's at Manifesting Money Podcasts. Again, Instagram is where I live. TikTok is where I create.
Yes, literally.
And I do not message back on TikTok. Please don't message me on there. And then we also have a private Facebook group for people who just want to, if you tune into the podcast, you have testimonies, or you just want to ask questions, or just get in the energy, that's available too.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming all the way from San Diego, taking the leap. I'm glad I caught you when I did, because she gave me some news before the podcast. Thank you to everybody who's in here, who lasted. Shout out to the whole Kumu fam, and to Tessa, and to everybody production. I am so honored that you guys found me and that we're here doing this, all the things. Shout out to the bartender and my kids who are making all the noise. I appreciate y'all. I will see you guys next time, because now we're back on Thursday night. So catch me here on Kumu on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. The time may change. We'll figure it out. But thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.